One day, Santa Claus is sitting in his office proudly reviewing a press release about how his operations at the North Pole have finally entered the 21st century with the launch of a new NASA-style mission control computer for making his list and checking it twice. Just as he is about to put his seal of approval on the press release announcing this major upgrade, he sees a note slide under his door and hears someone running down the hall. When he reads the note, it turns out to be a handwritten warning that there could be serious problems with the new computer's integrity. Santa is very concerned because he has invested immense amounts of time and energy in his system and hates the idea that he might deliver coal to the wrong stockings. He decides to head to Mission Control to check on the system directly. Upon arrival, he can tell things are not going well. The Chief Mission Control Specialist is going through an emergency checklist on all systems. As he looks across the Mission Control room, he notices young elves who run this elite space-age operation are all wearing white, short-sleeved, button-down office shirts with plastic pocket protectors. Every elf in the room has visible sweat rings as they are frantically pushing buttons, flipping switches, and tapping dials to double-check every single system. A few run back and forth to manually cross-check data. There's a constant, low-level din, punctuated periodically by shouts, reporting to Chief Mission Control Specialist that a particular system is A-OK or 80% operational or switching to secondary system for primary recalibration. Santa puts on his best game face with a warm and reassuring smile of concern as he checks in with his chief elf in charge. But his chief elf in charge is red-faced and looks like he's about to pass a kidney stone. Santa figures he's seen it all, so he plays it cool. What's the situation, Sparky? Sparky, the chief elf in charge, is a young 500 years old and has only been at this job a few years, since the last chief elf in charge, who was over 1,000 years old, quit in protest as soon as the list-checking computer system was approved. So Sparky takes a deep breath after his mission control specialist finishes giving him a quick status report. Well, Santa, it looks like we've got a problem. Is that right, Sparky? Is it the computer? Sparky replies, well, sir, it may not be the computer. We're currently running every diagnostic in the book and several that aren't because the data we're getting is bizarre. Santa replies, what do you mean by bizarre, Sparky? Well, sir, when he decided to develop the computerized checking system, the programmers were ecstatic that they would have a chance to work on real-world systems instead of the usual gaming stuff. So they decided they should collect real-time data to accurately capture the actual complexity of day-to-day living and then run that data through a few well-chosen, culturally correct morality filters to sort the data and then crunch the resulting numbers to arrive at a clear and appropriate decision about who should receive coal in their stocking instead of presents. Everything was fine until they went to test the system last month. What they found was that the system seemed to work very well, except for one small glitch. You see, when they do this kind of initial systems test, they compare their test output decisions with a control set of data from the old system. Santa interrupts. Sparky, cut to the chase. Well, sir, the old elves from the List Checking Twice Bureau pointed out that while the computer did a good job with stuff like your basic lying, cheating, and stealing, it was completely missing the ability to detect when children would say one thing but actually do another without an outright lie. Since the hypocrisy is so much more subtle than lying, it had been overlooked in the original design, so the input systems had to be redesigned, and the programming reworked, which put everything badly behind schedule. And so when they launched the whole system this morning, they went live without having tested the hypocrisy subsystem. So you think there's a problem with the hypocrisy subsystem? Well, not exactly, sir. Come on, Sparky. I'm a very patient man. Or so the legend has it. But you're pushing it, aren't you? Sorry, Santa, sir. I just can't believe the data we're getting. So what's the data then? Well, the programmers for the hypocrisy subsystem had to come up with a way to quantify the hypocrisy in a way that would allow them to calculate each transgression. So they asked the old elves in the Let's Checking Twice Bureau for how they dealt with hypocrisy. The old elves told the programmers that when they judged hypocrisy, it was important to estimate the relationship between the hypocrisy of the society and the hypocrisy of the individual. It is a fact of human nature, they said, that the individual cannot be judged and expected to have more than, or at least any less than, their fair share of the hypocrisy of the whole society. Yes, I remember back in the day how it was just a guessing game, agreed Santa. So you see, sir, this means that our computer has to calculate not only the hypocrisy of the individual, but the hypocrisy of the whole society, in order to be fair, and we now have the advantage for the first time of calculating a precise ratio. And true to form, the listing came up with a brilliant solution, and also discovered that the burden of hypocrisy is a significant weight on society. Just then, the chief mission control specialist elf ran up to the chief elf in charge and frantically whispered a report in his ear and showed him a series of printouts that were on the clipboard in his hand. Ah, I see. Oh, but, said the chief elf in charge as he heard the report. Finally, he turns back to Santa with a dire look on his face. I'm really sorry to have drawn this explanation out, but I think it's very important for you to understand the situation completely. And I've just gotten the final report on the computer diagnostics. And, said Santa. Sir, the computer is working fine, even better than expected, actually. But you say that as if it's not good news. No, sir. That means that our data is correct, and that the number of people who are saying one thing and doing something different this holiday season is rising extremely fast. The trend is so strong that the whole of human society is going to implode as soon as they reach hypocritical mass.